Anyway, okay, so let's just do a quick refresher of what we saw last week with Chabakuk. There we go. All right. Sorry, let me just move things around now on my screen. 1 second. All right. So we opened with this masa, right? And we talked about like what is exactly a masa? Is it a pronouncement? Is it a burden? Like it's just kind of an odd word to use. That he's crying out to God. All right, God, how long has it been that you haven't, I've been crying out to you and you haven't listened. We've been crying out Hamas, right? It evokes this like Stom and Amorah, Noach type perspective of like crying out to God and God's not listening, right? Everything is terrible and justice is being perverted and all of those things. And then God is like, oh, don't worry. You think it's bad now. I'm raising up this nation that's going to be so much worse, right? They're going to do all these terrible things. Now, of course, implied in there is they're going to come and destroy the offenders right now, right? But then as Habakkuk responds with that image of the fish in the net, well, okay, God, that's nice, but your that type of approach of sending in the another nation, the Chaldeans slash Babylonians, right, to destroy the Assyrians now, is also going to get the innocent trampled along with the guilty, and therefore basically perpetuate the problem I'm crying out to you about right now, which is that the innocent are being preyed upon by the guilty, right? And so we end chapter 1 on that note of, where he says that basically these fishermen use their nets to capture all the fish and will therefore keep going because why wouldn't you, right? You get the most that way. And so now we would expect it seems like we leave off in a place where Habakkuk is mad, and admirably willing to challenge God, right? And so Habakkuk's going to keep talking right now. If God were to respond, I assume we would expect God to refine the point about the Chaldeans. We don't know. And so anyway, so chapter 2, Habakkuk makes this interesting turn, and he says, Al mishmarti emda. Oh, let me just. Okay. Ve'et yatzva al matzor ve'atzapeh lir'ot ma yedaber bi u'ma ashiv al tochachti. What does Habakkuk say? He says, I will stand on my watch, take up my station at the post, and wait to see what God will say to me, what will be the reply to my complaint. Right? So it's kind of declarative, right? In that sense, like I'm going to wait here and I'm going to see what God is going to respond. Okay. Wait, did I lose my place again? Oh, I totally lost my place. Sorry, 1 minute. Okay. Um, there we go. Now,
So I have a,
yeah, go ahead.
I have a question because the way in which my translation works, it says, what I will reply when I am reproved, as if God's going to take issue with what he's going to say. So what is the word tochach? Tochach?
Yeah, right. Tochacha is like rebuke, right? Ma'ashiv tochachti. I mean, I think that in and of itself is a profound statement by Habakkuk saying, I gave God tochacha, right? Usually we think God gives us tochacha, right? A parent gives a child tochacha, a teacher gives a class tochacha, and yet here, Habakkuk the Navi is giving God tochacha, right? That's not usually the direction it goes in. So yes, I find that word selection in and of itself significant. And now Habakkuk continues, Va'aneni Hashem, Vayomer Ktov Chazon Uva'er al haluchot lema'an yarutz koreh bo. God answered me and said, write the prophecy down, inscribe it clearly on tablets so that it can be read easily. Right? So we want everyone to know what is coming. כי עוד חזון למועד ויפח לקץ ולא יכזב אם יתמהמה חכה לו כי בוא יבוא לא יאחר. For there is yet a prophecy. What did GPS? Why did they have a note? Is yet a prophet. The prophecy is okay, whatever. For a set term, a truthful witness for a time that will come. Even if it tarries, wait for it still, for it will surely come without delay. Um, all right. So God now is saying, yeah, something's happening. And even if it takes a while, you just wait for it, right? Im yitmameh chakelo. Some of us may be familiar with that language of, from the song like Anima Amin, Bemuna Shlema, Beviat HaMashiach, Vim Kol Ze Chakelo, Kol Yosh, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay. It's all in there. I'm trying to go through it in my head. It's taking too long. Right. But yes, this idea that, yeah, and if it's taking a long time, it's okay. Just wait. Right. That's your job is to wait. So far, what do we think about this response? Well, here, we should do the fourth pasuk before we discuss it. Hine upla lo yashra nafsho bod v'tzadik be'emunato yichyeh. Lo, their spirit within them is not puffed up. It is not upright, but the righteous are rewarded with life for their fidelity. So there's a question of whose spirit is not upla, or is upla and not yashra. Are we talking about the Assyrians or are we talking about the corrupt Jews at this time? But either way, ultimately, this is a profound statement from Chabakuk, right? It's verses 2 to 4 is the statement of I'm gonna wait, right? And yeah, and the righteous are rewarded with life for their fidelity. How do you have it translated?
Which
Tzaddik b'emunato yichya.
I think it's faith. With his faith, he would live.
Yeah, here Beasley says the righteous shall live by his faith. I don't like this translation.
that's
I
a
don't like the fidelity. I don't know what fidelity comes in there.
Yeah, I
That's
don't know.
Steinsaltz says faith
Yeah, that makes more sense to me.
and witness the fulfillment of the prophecy.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I always like Steinsaltz.
Yeah, I know. That's definitely better.
I want to know who the righteous ones are.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. Why? What are you thinking?
Well, I guess more of my question is what makes them righteous? Righteous over ones who aren't righteous. I mean,
Mm,
who are they? I mean, what do they do?
hmm
are they saying that the righteous will live because he has faith? Or are they
Also a
he's
beautiful
living with his faith?
question.
Yeah.
Also a beautiful question. Yeah. hmm Yeah.
that seemed to be implied by the pasuk.
hmm Yeah. The righteous shall live by his.
Actually, it's with his faith,
Well,
right?
right.
So
Not clear. I mean, Beasley, he addresses those different options, and doesn't really, how does he say it? Well, so he says the vision does provide guidance to Habakkuk about he and the people should live their lives at a time when the divine presence appears absent through Emunah. Yeah. So it's this very okay. So I mean, I'm trying to summarize Beasley's few pages on this. I'm just on these three verses, right? So Habakkuk opens with saying, I'm going to wait here, and God, I'm going to see, how you respond. And God responds, write this down, write this chazon. It's going to be important. And a something's going to happen. And if it takes a long time, don't worry, just wait. Because tzaddik be'emunato yichya, right? The righteous live through their faith with their faith. Great question of how exactly you translate that.
I'd like to know if there is a different translation for the first part of the pasuk. Hine upla lo yeshara.
Yes. Well, look, the problem is upla is a word that almost never appears in the Tanakh. It does appear. I mean, it's funny because I remember this pasuk because having taught the Ma'apilim story a number of times, right? That's the group of Israelites who, after the incident with the spies, and God says, "No, you're not going to the land. You're done." There's a group that wakes up the next morning. Pilu el Rosh Hahar, I think is the exact language, right? They went up to the mountain, and the question is, well, what does Pilu mean? It doesn't, it's not a word that's really used much, and this is always referenced here, Hine upla lo yashra, and that this is the other time that that word appears, right? So it's kind of a question. It's used to explain what Pilu means there, but of course, we now have to decide what it means here. And it is a sense of like puffed up, that they went up arrogantly up the mountain, right? And now here people are puffed up as opposed to yashar, which, upright.
Conceited
Yeah, inflated. Yeah.
or and
Insolent
insatiable
is,
or feels faint. Pretty interesting.
Hmm.
I mean, if you think of Ma'apilim, and this is the verb, you would say they were climbing,
Mm.
but not in a straight line.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
So, yeah, I don't see the word spirit here. Oh, spirit is nafsho.
Yeah, but no, I don't like I don't like this translation. Certainly not. It's not great because the whole part of the point also, what Beasley and others point out, is that the pasuk is supposed to be simple. Tzadik be'emunato yichya. You don't want to turn that into this like complicated, wordy word salad of the righteous are rewarded with life for their fidelity. No, that's not what we're trying to say, right? Tzadik be'emunato yichya is a simple idea. And in fact, he also points out, I want to mention, that this verse became one of the dividing points between Jewish and Christian thought. The question is, what principles underlie the commandments? None of the speakers would have suggested that these ideas come to replace commandments. He's referencing a Gemara in which we basically go from 613 mitzvot, get whittled down eventually just to one, Tzadik be'emunato yichya from Chabakuk. And so what Beasley's pointing out that none of them are suggesting that this idea replaces the commandments. However, conversely, Paul quotes this verse 3 times in the New Testament in Romans, Galatians, and Hebrews, and interprets it to mean that salvation can be achieved through faith alone, unencumbered by commandments. Right? So we have to bear in mind that when we Jews use Chabakuk, it's a beautiful statement, but we don't really mean it, right? As being the sum total of the religious experience.
I actually have some comments on
Please.
but the righteous man, however, is different, for his soul is humble. He always fears the Lord, sorry. Therefore, he will live by his faith in God and avoid the evil that befalls the wicked. These righteous are the Israelites who were exiled with Zedekiah, who were humbled and exiled and did not worship idols but believed in God. When Cyrus conquered Babylon and the Chaldeans were slain, the Israelites who were righteous lived because of their faith in God. They were saved from the sword of the Persians, who released them and allowed them to return to their own land. This is from Radak. And it says Radak defines ufla as haughtiness, bringing the same reference that Rashi brings. And he quotes his brother Moses, who explains this phrase to mean the wicked take refuge in the tower and the rampart,
Mm, mm,
but do not return to God, do not beseech him to save them. The
mm,
righteous, however, need no rampart, for he lives by his faith in God.
That's
Kind of
nice.
long-winded, but they're saying that it's righteous Israelites that are keeping the faith, even though they've been exiled.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about that. It does feel like Tzaddik Bemunato Yichya sort of does become like the defining mantra of the Jewish people in exile, right? Of like, live with your faith, obviously be a good Jew, but in terms of, right, don't strive to, yeah, apilu el rosh hahar, right? Don't strive to defy what God wants for you. I always say to stir the pot, don't do that, right? Just stay where you are and live through your faith and however that means, right? And one of the beauties of, well, beauties, I don't know, maybe some people think it's a negative of Habakkuk that we'll see more and more, is that the ultimate message of his book and of him is just wait, have faith in God, and will come eventually, but that could be in 1,000 years.
Well, 2000.
Or to that, yeah, yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which, we can debate whether that's a good message or a bad one. Yeah. So that's just the first 4 verses. Um, yeah. Okay. So now we keep going. We shift a little bit. Ve'af. So ve'af ki hayayin boged gever yahir velo yinve asher hirchiv kish'ol nafsho vehu chamavet velo yispa, excuse me, ve'esof elav kol hagoyim ve'ikbotz elav kol ha'amim. How much less then shall the defiant go unpunished, the treacherous, the arrogant, who've made their maw as wide as Sheol, who are insatiable as death, who have harvested all the nations and gathered in all the peoples. Let me just do the next one too. Hello, Ele Kulam, Alav Mashal, Yisau, yeah, sorry, Umlitza Chitot Lo, Vayomar, Hoy Hamarbe, Lo. Ad matai machbir alav avtit. Surely all these shall pronounce a satire against them. Appointed epigram concerning them. They shall say, Ah, you who pile up what is not yours, how much longer? And make ever heavier your load of indebtedness. Let me figure out how he translates this, because oy vey. All right. It's much better here. All right. Let me see.
I have a very different translation for the
Yeah.
last
He,
sentence.
what do you have? Because he doesn't even, the GPS doesn't even use wine. Yain boged gever.
I'm sorry. Well, actually, it's the one before that. It's Machbit Alav Avtit.
Yeah.
Loads himself up with a beam of mud.
Ah, teat. Okay. Yeah. Huh. Wow. All right. Okay. Beasley says, and for the 5 and 6, and furthermore, surely he whom wine betrays, a haughty man whose dwelling shall not remain, who widened his desire like the netherworld, and he is like death and shall never be sated, and he gathered all the nations to himself and collected to himself all peoples. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and take up ridicules and riddles against him? And he shall say, Woe to him who increases what is not his, how long, and who loads himself with many pledges. Okay, so that's got Machbir Alav Avtit.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. As Beasley points out, that because God is now referred to in the third person in this whole section, we understand that Chabakuk is the speaker. So just in case that doesn't clear, and there's 5 woes or hoys in these 15 verses. So and about like punishment, fate that awaits the evildoers, right? So the second half of 6, hoy hamarbeh lo ad matai machbid alav avtit. Right. Ah, you who pile up, how much longer? Da, 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 da. So we're basically just condemning the bad people here.
Is there a different translation to have teeth?
Yeah, so here he's got what did I say that he said? What did he say? I already forgot. Pledges. What is that a Hebrew word, Aya?
I'm not familiar. I'm trying to figure out what the shorish is.
Right. I mean, I guess if Thera has mud, then that would be like, I assume from teat, right?
Yeah, but have teeth doesn't make
And
sense.
avat, I mean, oh no, that's ba'at for kick. Yeah, I don't.
It's certainly not in the indebtedness.
I know. Hmm.
Okay, more comments here. Redacative and Ezra also explain Avtit as 2 words.
Mm-hmm.
Explain the word in reverse order. Avtit, thick mud.
Thick mud. Okay.
Radak explains how long does he expect his wealth to remain in his hands and in the hands of his descendant, that he loads himself with wealth like thick mud.
That's nice. Oh, and I should say also that these are the question becomes now like, who are we talking about? Right? Remember, we're mad at the Assyrians, and God says, Oh, don't worry, I'm gonna send the Babylonians are gonna be way worse, right? So what are we talking about here, right? How has our perspective shifted? And I think the general consensus is this is now talking about the downfall of the Babylonians, right? That is part of, yes, they're coming, but eventually they also will fall. Um, okay,
Oh, I
right.
have another Avtit. Rabbi Joseph Kimchi
Hmm.
he defines Aftit as the grave.
Oh,
Does he know he's destined for the grave, that he is merely loading thick clay upon his grave?
oh, interesting. Hmm. All
So nobody
right.
really knows what it
I
means.
know no one knows what it means. Yeah, great. Okay. Hello, Feta Yakumu Noshchecha Vayiktu Mizazecha Vahayita Limshisot Lamo. Right suddenly will your creditors arise, and those who remind you will awake, and you will be despoiled by them. Is right suddenly? Is he saying? Yeah, I like that Beasley keeps it as the hello, which is a rhetorical question, right? Will not those who bite you arise suddenly, and those who startle you awaken, and you shall become plunder for them? Talking right to the Babylonians, saying like, yeah. Why? Ki ata shalota goyim rabim yeshalucha kol yeter amim midmei adam v'chamas eretz kirya v'chol yoshveva. Because you have plundered many nations, all surviving people shall plunder you for crimes against humans and wrongs against lands, against cities and all their inhabitants. I like this also because, whether or not it's comforting to hear that, yes, the Assyrians will be destroyed by another nation that's coming through that's stronger, that just means you're going to have the same complaint then in 50 years, or whatever it is, right? You're going to want the downfall of that next nation that's coming in. And so I kind of appreciate here that we're anticipating that and saying, don't worry, they will also fall. Like it's kind of assuring you that you're not stuck in this just like loop, right?
It's like Chad God, yeah.
Yeah, 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 definitely. That's a good analogy. Okay. Now we have our next hoy. So hoy botzea betza ra leveito lasum bamarom kino lehinatzel mikaf ra. Ah, or woe, really. You have acquired gains to the detriment of your own house, who have destroyed many peoples in order to set your nest on high to escape disaster. Okay. Ya'atzta boshet levetecha ketzot amim rabim v'chote nefshecha. You've plotted shame for your own house and guilt for yourself. Ki even mikir tizak v'kafis me'etz ya'anena. For a stone shall cry out from the wall, and a rafter shall answer it from the woodwork. I love the image of the inanimate objects. Right? It just says the second woe describes how the oppressor profited from his greed. Chabakuk imagines him utilizing his ill-gotten gains as he builds the foundation of his house, and he places his dwelling in a high place, believing that this will make him immune from retribution. The idea of one mistakenly believing that a high place will provide an escape echoes both the story of Migdal Bavel as well as Ovadiah's taunt of Edom. Though you make your nest as high as the eagle, and though you set it among the stars, I will bring you down from there, says the Lord. I like that. All right. Now, I mean, jump in if you have comments on this. Uh, our third hoy is now, and also as Beasley points out, this is the first one where God is actually mentioned. Hoy boneh ir bedamim v'chonen kirya be'avla. Ah, or woe, you have built a town with crime and established a city with infamy. Do you have crime or do you have blood?
Blood.
Yes, good. Yes. I've got woe to him who builds a city with blood and establishes a city with injustice. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
More poignant. I mean, why would he want
I
the blood?
know. I know. Hello, hine me'et Hashem tzvakot, vayig'u amim b'dei esh ule'umim b'dei rik yafu. So the peoples have had to toil for the fire and nations to weary themselves for naught. Behold, it is from God of hosts. Ugh. Yeah, I can't. It's so irritating. Ki timaleh haaretz lada'at et kvod Hashem kamaim yechasu al yam. For the earth shall be filled with awe for God's glory as water covers the sea. All right, what's this third hoy really about?
Which one? Oy
Sorry, go
mashke.
ahead. What? No, Aya?
In verse 15, oy mashke re'eu, or the
No,
one
no, no, the previous one, 12 to 14.
yeah, I can't see 12.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me scroll up a little bit. There we go. I mean, I guess it's right now you've built a house, now you've built a city.
But you built
Yeah,
it with blood,
right.
and you
Yeah.
built it with I don't know, it's not with maybe infamy is better than crime.
Yeah, you think so?
There,
Eh,
there was one person and also a situation. So the person is Chiel who rebuilt Jericho,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he would be like a art like an example of people who do such things. And the other one, maybe it's not such a like accurate, but the idea of Ir, a city that goes and worships idols, that the Talmud says that it's the majority of people who have lived there for more than 12 months. So they're founding their city on these false which also leads to all kinds of other sins. You know, the minute you're idol worship, you do human sacrifice and everything else that you justify by it. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's do, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think the reason maybe in English if you say build a town with blood,
Mm-hmm.
it could go either way. It could mean like with the blood of your toil, that
Mm-hmm.
could be a good, not a good thing, but it could mean two different things. So when you say with crime, then it's clear that it's bad blood.
Mm-hmm.
No
Yeah, it
good.
doesn't say whose blood, but it's clear that it's blood that's not supposed to be
Yeah.
there. That it's a sin.
Mm-hmm.
You killed
Mm-hmm.
the Jews or the Assyrian.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like just the forced labor or exploitative labor
Right.
and all the things we know in history that have been built that are beautiful, right? But built by people who didn't want to be doing
I'm
it.
just saying that if they put it in English, you have built a town with blood.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It could mean blood, sweat, and tears.
It's in a
Mm-hmm.
song. I mean, there's been songs that talk about building with blood or
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we say that though. I
yeah,
put
it's
the blood
just
in
phrase,
there.
right. And
Mm.
it implies, just as you said, that you force people into labor, you beat them, sometimes they
Yeah.
die.
Right.
But crime, I think works as well as it can.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a warlord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay, our fourth hoy. Hoy mashke re'ehu misapeach chamatcha ve'af shaker lema'an habit al ma'orehem. Ah, you who make others drink to intoxication as you pour out your wrath. Misapeach chamatcha, not shvo chamatcha, in order to gaze upon their nakedness. Yeah, I'm gonna flip back and just to see what we have here. Yeah, okay. Just a woe to him who gives his friend to drink, who adds your venom and also makes him drunk in order to gaze upon their nakedness. Savata kalon mechavod shete gamata vehe'arel tisov alecha kos yamin Hashem v'kikalon al kvodecha. You shall be sated with shame rather than glory. Drink in your turn and stagger. The cup in God's right hand shall come around to you and disgrace to your glory. Here, let's finish this one. Ki chamas levanon yechasecha v'shod behemot yechitan midmei adam v'chamas eretz kirya v'chol yoshveva. For the lawlessness, that violence, the chamas against Lebanon shall cover you. The destruction of animals shall overwhelm you. For crimes against humans and wrongs against lands, against cities and all their inhabitants. Mahu il pesel ki pesalo yotzro masechav umore shaker ki batach yotzer yitzro alav lasot elilim ilmim. What is the carved image of veil, right? The pesel, that its maker has carved it for an image and a false oracle, that the one who makes an item has trusted in it, producing dumb idols. Okay, so clearly we know what the last one's about, right? It seems like the other ones are that this hoy is that you've sort of, I guess, yeah, intoxicated people in order to get them aligned with you. He says it describes how wicked people abuse their weaker neighbors by intoxicating them and then taking advantage of them. Any footnotes or anything?
What's the translation of Hail? I'm back a few sentences.
The cup in God's right hand. Let me see. It basically has.
Right, if you drink.
Yeah, it says here, the cup from the right hand of the Lord shall be turned upon you and disgrace upon your glory.
And it says, Savata kolon michavod shete gam ata v'he'arel. You two drink and what?
It's like we'll make it.
There's stagger, but there's an etnach under that. That's the end of the half sentence.
Oh, there. I'm sorry, I couldn't find it.
ושתה גם את וההראל תיסוב עליך. And
No, וההראל, semicolon, and then תיסוב עליך קוץ.
no, actually, I would read it as Savata kalon mikavod, shte gamata.
So what happens to you if you drink?
No, but the etnach is underneath the word ha'arel, so that's
Right.
why there's a capital T for the cup. The stagger is the end of the first half of the sentence. So it could be stagger, it could be somebody who's uncircumcised, it could be.
I was thinking, but that's
He just says clogged up here, which is interesting. Like clogged, like a toilet.
Yeah, that's my translation too, and it doesn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Hail to me, it's like, like someone who's not circumcised. So I don't get that. But
Yeah, but it's figuratively, it's not literally that you're drinking with somebody who's a goy. It's just that the result of your drinking from this cup that isn't a proper cup would be that you'll turn into like somebody who's away from God. Like again, I don't think it's literal. The only people who are always called Arelim in the Tanakh are the Philistines, and Chabakuk didn't mention any Philistines in this chapter or previously. So I think it's about and there's all in Deuteronomy there's Orlat Lev, the part that covers basically our way to directly connect with Hashem. We cover it with that extra skin, again figuratively. And Hashem says, "Umal Hashem et orlat levavchem," that I will remove that cover. I will remove that blockage because I want you to come back to me, right? So I think that's what he's talking about here. But I never learned Chabakuk, so any, any suggestion is
Ay, ay, ay. Okay, just for the sake of time, let's just do these last two and we can continue thinking about what's going on
Go off
here.
on tangents with these weird words.
I know, I know. I like it. Okay, also he notes that verse 18, as we just saw, marks a shift in subject, switching from addressing interpersonal transgressions to describing the spiritual sin of idolatry. Right? So, hoy omer la'etz hakitza uri le'even dumam hu yoreh hinehu tafus zahav v'chesef v'chol ruachem bekirbo. Ah, you who say, wake up to wood, awaken to inert stone. Can that give an oracle? Why, it is encased in gold and silver, but there is no breath inside of it. V'Hashem beheichal kodsho hasmi panav kol haaretz. But God in the holy abode, be silent before God, all of the earth. Hmm. All right. I mean, there's nothing.
When did Habakkuk prophesied? Where does he fit with all the prophets?
So we don't know really exactly because there's no context given for him and who he is. The only thing we can infer is that it's got to be while the Assyrians, are in power. Because the only way it makes sense is, I mean, because he's saying the Babylonians are coming, right? It has to be while the Assyrians are still in power, but we can't pinpoint an exact time.
the Gemara
So there
says
are
that he was the.
multiple,
Hmm?
Sorry,
multiple,
go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, yeah.
sorry, go
No, go
ahead.
ahead. Oh,
I think
okay.
you say there are
Yeah.
several prophets at the same time, all saying the same thing.
No, not necessarily. I think that the focus here is more unique on the spiritual element of it, of just like Tzaddik be'emunato yichya. Um, is anyone else?
So there's two things. One is he's the only one except for Moshe that prayed. Sorry,
Mhm.
that we know that prayed. Um, and Tefillah Moshe, and chapter 3 is the Tefillah of Chavakuk. But the second thing is that the Talmud does say that Chavakuk is the boy that Elisha revived,
Right.
while Yonah is the one that Elijah revived.
Yeah.
So that
Um,
also fits in that time frame.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Also, what Beasley, I didn't get into it, but he points out certain literary similarities between Chabakuk and Isaiah and Chabakuk and Yirmiyahu. Um, Certainly Yirmiyahu at least would have been later. So, I guess that means that Yirmiyahu drew on some ideas from Chabakuk. But yeah, we don't know precisely. So
Feisty.
I know. I'm telling you, I love these like Nahum, Chabakuk, like I just love these guys who are coming in and just,
Take no prisoners.
yeah, exactly,
Even God.
exactly. Yeah,
He's gonna
it's,
say speak his mind.
I know, and it's such a I wish these books got more attention. Let's say it that way. So yeah. Okay, so we won't meet next week, of course, because it'll be Purim.
Forum.
Yeah, I know. Yes, Purim next week, believe it or not. God willing, the week after, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
You go in costume?